For 5 years, I was with Scarlett. Her latest movie became a blockbuster, raking in hundreds of millions at the box office. I used my 5 years of savings to secretly order an engagement ring, believing that the day we'd finally start a family was just around the corner. But the night before the wedding, she leaned back on the couch and casually dropped the bomb. The inspiration for this movie was Ethan, my first love. Back then, I was afraid he'd have to endure hardships with me, so I sent him abroad. And you were just a stand-in. My hand, which was ironing my shirt, froze. Why are you telling me this today? Her tone was as nonchalant as if she were discussing dinner, so entitled it was absurd. Ethan has suffered a lot abroad over the years. I want to make it up to him, so I already married him yesterday. But don't worry, I'll divorce him in a year, and then I'll definitely marry you. I haven't treated you badly all these years. I've taken care of you, supported you. You haven't lost out. It was as if she thought giving me a hidden, unofficial position was some grand favor. I stood there, motionless for a long time. I didn't even notice my arm getting burned until the skin blistered. It was Scarlett who frowned, pulled me to the couch, and applied medicine. Her voice was full of concern, as if she hadn't just said those words. How can you be so clumsy? You can even hurt yourself ironing clothes. I got injured often over the past 5 years. Scarlett had done this many times. Each time, a warmth spread through my chest. Only this time, my chest felt heavy, as if something was lodged there. I pulled my arm back, my voice low. Scarlett, don't you find it pointless, living with a fake for 5 years? Scarlett's face darkened. Alex, don't talk about yourself like that. She was too calm. I couldn't help but smash the first aid kit. Didn't you turn me into this? My chest heaved uncontrollably. Scarlett sighed, gathered the scattered medicines, and spoke softly. I know it's hard for you to accept right now, but we've been together for 5 years. There's no need to deny everything over such a small matter. As she spoke, Scarlett reached out to touch my shoulder. I moved aside, avoiding her. Suddenly, I felt like I was back on the day she confessed to me. My mom had a heart attack and was hospitalized. To earn money, I worked as a server at a club. One accidental spill soaked the guests' shoes, and the people behind them started jeering. Designer shoes. So, handsome, are you going to pay up, or spend a few nights with Tiffany? I recommend the latter, it's a better deal. Yeah, Tiffany has high standards. I clutched the tray, caught between a rock and a hard place. That's when Scarlett appeared. Seeing me, she paused for a moment, then came to my rescue. Didn't you say this was for my birthday? Come on in, don't bother him. She was a close friend of Tiffany's, so no one dared to say anything when she intervened. The group left. Before long, someone brought me a band-aid. It was Scarlett's doing. After that, I often saw Scarlett at the club. She'd watch where I went, and she'd have her friends order from me. One evening, a few drunk guests blocked her in the hallway, making crude comments. She ignored them, her face cold, but one of them reached out to grab her purse. My blood boiled, and I grabbed a bottle nearby, smashing it. The scene descended into chaos. I was surrounded and kicked several times. Eventually, security rushed in and pulled everyone apart. I leaned against the wall to stand, blood oozing from the corner of my mouth, my back covered in bruises. Scarlett pulled me into the break room, got a first aid kit, and treated my wounds. Her movements were gentle, and she didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she asked in a low voice, "Why are you so good to me?" I leaned back in the chair, wincing from the pain, and casually replied, "If you don't know how to repay me, how about you just give yourself to me?" Scarlett stopped what she was doing, looking up at me. "Alex, I'm serious. Will you be my boyfriend?" It would be a lie to say I wasn't moved. Because of that, all these years, I'd always felt Scarlett was a stroke of luck from above. I never imagined it was all a deception from the very beginning. I turned my head away, not looking at her, my voice unusually firm. "Scarlett, let's break up." As soon as the words left my mouth, Scarlett's phone rang. She glanced at it, her tone casual, as if she didn't care at all. "I'll just assume you're angry and speaking out of emotion. As long as you're good this year, you won't miss out on what's yours. I'm going to Ethan's welcome party first. You stay home and think about it." The moment the door closed, I smashed the only photo I had with Scarlett. My phone suddenly lit up, grabbing my attention. It was a link from my friend. Scarlett's book had become popular, bringing her into the public eye. These past few days, he'd sent me plenty of videos related to Scarlett. But this time, seeing his text, I froze for a moment. "Your early photos with Scarlett have been dug up." In fact, Scarlett had never publicly acknowledged my existence. Whenever I brought it up, she'd use the excuse of not wanting her private life to be overly scrutinized. Because of this, I had been with Scarlett for 5 years without any official status. Even though I already had a suspicion, when I clicked on the link, my heart felt a sharp prick. The link contained a Google Maps screenshot from 5 years ago. And the main characters in the picture were Scarlett and me. The same height, similar backs. If I hadn't learned the truth about being a stand-in today, I might have thought I'd lost a memory. But Scarlett would never squat down to tie my shoelaces. In the 5 years we were together, Scarlett and I did everything couples do. Except for her bending down to tie my shoelaces. I can't count how many times I wanted Scarlett to tie them for me. But each time, it was fruitless. Even when my stomach pain made my face turn pale, Scarlett was indifferent to my request to tie my shoes. What I got was annoyance. I don't like tying people's shoelaces. Can you please stop forcing me? I remember that day, I didn't speak all evening. Later, Scarlett tried to coax me for a long time. I thought I had forgotten, but 3 years later, that memory was still vivid. So vivid that seeing that scene, my chest felt like it was crushed by a heavy stone. So it wasn't that she didn't like to, it was just that the person wasn't me. I don't know how long I stared at that photo. It wasn't until Scarlett came in with a drunken Ethan that I snapped back to reality. Seeing me still awake, Scarlett paused, then explained. Ethan's drunk, and he lives alone, so there's no one to take care of him. I should have exploded in anger. But I knew clearly, it was useless. Scarlett didn't love me. Thinking this, I moved aside to let Scarlett pass. Scarlett raised an eyebrow in surprise. Good, it seems you've thought it through. I haven't treated you badly, after all. Besides, if you leave me, you won't be able to afford your mom's medical expenses. I didn't reply, letting Scarlett help Ethan upstairs. I also deliberately ignored the faint smirk on Ethan's lips as he looked at me. It was only when I returned to the bedroom and saw the clothes Ethan was wearing that I clenched my fists. I rushed forward, wanting to tear the clothes off him. The moment I touched Ethan, he cried out, "Ah, you're hurting me." The next second, Scarlett, coming out of the bathroom, shoved me away. The force was too much, and I hit the corner of the table. In my ear was Scarlett's accusation, "Alex, are you out of your mind?" I braced myself against the table corner and stood up straight, responding for once. Shouldn't you be asking yourself that? You know this jacket was handmade by my mom, and she's barely clinging to life with medical equipment. How can you let another man wear it? Scarlett's movements paused, as if she finally realized. But she didn't lower her head, shielding Ethan behind her, and said in a deep voice, "Even so, you shouldn't lay a hand on him. Apologize to Ethan." My voice tightened. He's the one who was wrong. Why should I apologize? Scarlett scoffed. Fine, let's see how long you can keep this up. Don't regret it. With that, she turned to Ethan, her tone softening. Change back into your clothes. I'll take you to the hospital. Ethan nodded, casting a glance at me before he left. I hadn't meant to lose control. But the emotional disparity was too great, it was suffocating me. Blood from the cut on my forehead trickled down my brow, and a familiar message popped up on my phone. My offer still stands. As long as you're willing, I'll marry you. I didn't want to wait for Scarlett anymore. I'd waited for her for 5 years for this marriage. How many 5-year periods does one life have? I finally made up my mind to reply. I agree. Get ready. But I didn't expect Scarlett's methods to be so swift. The next day, as I went downstairs, 2 bodyguards forced me into a chair. In front of me were countless bottles of liquor. My heart tightened, and I looked at Scarlett, who was sitting on the couch. What are you doing? Scarlett smiled, pointing to Ethan beside her. I told you, let's see how long you can keep this up. The consequence of not apologizing. The realization hit me like a thunderclap, as if something exploded in my mind. I stared intently at her. Scarlett, you can't do this to me, I can't drink alcohol. A flicker of hesitation crossed Scarlett's eyes. Ethan saw it. He frowned, looking at Scarlett. If he doesn't want to apologize, just let it go. I'm fine. Scarlett's face darkened. I said I wouldn't let you be wronged. With that, Scarlett looked back at me and smiled. Didn't you used to work at a bar? How can you not drink now? Since you won't apologize, then you'll have to endure this. My heart sank. Scarlett seemed to have truly forgotten that my stomach was ruined drinking for her. Back then, Scarlett's family sent people to the bar to make things difficult for her. Knowing she was allergic to alcohol, they still demanded she drink 10 bottles of liquor before she could leave. It was me who drank bottle after bottle for her. By the end, I lost consciousness and was rushed to the hospital. When I woke up, Scarlett was there, watching over me. She apologized again and again. The doctor said you can't touch alcohol anymore. Let's quit this job, okay? I'll take care of you from now on, and I'll take good care of your stomach. Scarlett spoke earnestly, and I was happy that she could continue doing what she loved. Time passed, and in just 4 years, Scarlett had forgotten. I suddenly felt that my 4-year-old self wasn't worth it. The bodyguards forcing the liquor down my throat brought my thoughts back. I struggled, but no matter how much I resisted, the alcohol still went down my throat. It made me cough. Scarlett's hands clenched at her sides, and she reminded me, as long as you apologize to Ethan, I can let you go. I didn't bow my head, struggling to speak. What did I do wrong? You're the one who's wrong, both of you. Seeing that I still wouldn't give in, Scarlett waved her hand to continue. The alcohol entered my stomach, causing a burning pain. I gritted my teeth, trying not to make a sound. But the next second, my phone rang. It was a call from Ms. Miller, my mom's caregiver. Ms. Miller never called for no reason. Every time it was because Mom had been rushed to the operating room. Thinking of this, my heart suddenly sank. I yelled hoarsely, Scarlett, I apologize, I know I was wrong. I was wrong, I won't ever lay a hand on Ethan again, please let me go. Scarlett was a little surprised, but she still sneered, Alex, an apology needs some sincerity. I'm not the one you should be apologizing to. The bodyguards, perceptive, released me. I didn't care about anything else, and I walked a few steps to Ethan's front. To his surprised expression, I bowed my head again and again. Ethan, I know I was wrong, I shouldn't have laid a hand on you. I beg your forgiveness, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't know how many times I said it, but Scarlett still didn't give in. It wasn't until the wound on my forehead split open and started bleeding that Scarlett frowned. She had a bodyguard bring the first aid kit and tried to pull me up. I told you, as long as you're good, I'll give you anything you want. Let's just forget about this time, just be good in the future. But I ignored Scarlett, pushing her away and stumbling out. Scarlett chased after me, her voice laced with panic, Alex, where are you going? I didn't respond, flagged down a car, and went to the hospital. Throughout the journey, I prayed incessantly. As I arrived at the operating room, the doors opened. The doctor looked at me and shook his head, giving a different result for the first time. I'm sorry, we did everything we could. I stood at the operating room door, my mind buzzing. Scarlett, who had rushed after me, also heard those words. Her face instantly turned ashen. Remembering what she had just done, Scarlett felt a wave of panic. She walked forward, wanting to say something. A hand suddenly blocked her. Get away. Don't touch him. The hospital corridor was clinical, smelling of disinfectant and despair. The doctor's words, I'm sorry, we did everything we could, hung in the air like a physical blow. Alex felt as if the ground beneath his feet had dissolved. For 5 years, he had endured Scarlett's indifference, the humiliation of being a stand-in, and the physical toll of her neglect, all for one reason, to keep his mother alive. She was his only remaining anchor in the world. And now, she was gone. Scarlett, who had rushed into the hallway panting, her expensive designer heels clicking loudly against the linoleum, froze. For the first time since Alex had known her, the absolute confidence on her face cracked. Panic, raw and ugly, seeped into her eyes. Alex. Scarlett took a step forward, her hand trembling as she reached out to touch his arm. Alex, I didn't know it was this serious. Why didn't you tell me? If you had just told me. Get away. Don't touch him. The voice that cut through the corridor was cold, commanding, and laced with absolute authority. Scarlett's hand was forcefully intercepted. A tall, elegant woman stepped between them. She wore a tailored black coat that draped perfectly over her slender frame, her dark hair swept up in a sophisticated chignon. Her eyes, sharp and piercing, locked onto Scarlett with a look of pure disgust. It was Vivian Vance. To the public, Vivian was the enigmatic, low-profile heiress to the Vance Group, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that held the purse strings of half the entertainment industry. To Alex, she was the person who had sent him that fateful text message. Who are you? Scarlett demanded, trying to pull her wrist back, but Vivian's personal security detail had already stepped forward, forming an impenetrable wall between Scarlett and Alex. This is private. Alex is my... You're what? Vivian's voice was dangerously quiet. Your stand-in? Your punching bag? The disposable puppet you keep on a leash while you play house. With your first love? Scarlett's face drained of color. How do you know about that? Alex, who is this woman? Why is she here? Alex didn't look at Scarlett. He didn't look at Vivian either. His eyes were fixed on the closed double doors of the operating room. The silence stretching from him was suffocating. He felt entirely empty, as if the fire that had burned inside him for 5 years had finally been reduced to cold, lifeless ash. Vivian, Alex's voice was barely a whisper, hoarse and dry. Can we go? I want to take my mother home. Of course, Vivian's tone softened instantly as she turned to Alex. She reached out, her hand warm and gentle, and placed it over his cold, trembling fingers. Everything is arranged. We will bring her back to the Vance family estate's private mausoleum. She will have the peace she deserves. Wait. You can't just take him. Scarlett stepped forward, but a burly bodyguard shoved her back. Her composure was entirely gone now. Alex. Look at me. You've been with me for 5 years. You can't just walk away with some stranger because you're angry. I told you, the marriage with Ethan is temporary. I did it to protect his pride. It's you I want to spend my life with. Alex finally turned his head. His eyes, once filled with warmth and devotion, whenever he looked at her, were entirely hollow. The marriage with Ethan is temporary, Alex repeated her words, a mocking, lifeless smile touching his lips. And my mother's life was what? A bargaining chip. You kept me on a leash, telling me that if I left, you'd cut off her medical funds. Yesterday, you let your bodyguards force alcohol down my throat, the very thing that ruined my stomach when I saved your life years ago. You held me back, forced me to apologize to the man who stole my mother's handmade jacket, all while her heart was failing. He took a deep breath, the pain in his chest sharp and biting. Scarlett, you didn't just kill my love for you. You took the last moments I could have spent with my mother. I will never, as long as I live, forgive you. Alex, no. That's not true. I didn't know. Scarlett cried, tears finally spilling over her cheeks. She tried to reach for him, but the security guards pushed her further down the hall. Take her out, Vivian ordered coldly. If she attempts to approach Mr. Miller again, file a restraining order. And notify the Vance Group's legal team to review all outstanding contracts with her agency. Yes, President Vance, the assistant replied. As Scarlett was dragged away, screaming Alex's name, the corridor finally fell silent. Vivian looked at Alex, her eyes filled with a quiet, profound sympathy. She didn't offer empty platitudes. She simply held his hand firmly. Let's go, Alex. Your new life begins today. 3 days later, the funeral was held. It was a quiet, dignified affair at a private cemetery owned by the Vance family. There were no flashing cameras, no prying eyes of the media, and no sign of Scarlett or her entourage. Vivian had personally overseen every detail, ensuring that Alex's mother was laid to rest with the utmost respect. Alex stood before the tombstone, dressed in a sharp, well-fitted black suit that Vivian had ordered for him. He looked thinner, his face pale, but the chaotic, desperate air that had clung to him for the past 5 years was gone. He looked like a man who had survived a storm, left with nothing but a quiet, hardened resolve. Vivian walked up beside him, holding a single white rose. She placed it at the base of the headstone and bowed her head in respect. Thank you, Vivian, Alex said quietly, his voice steady. For everything. You don't need to thank me, Alex. We made a deal, Vivian replied, her voice smooth and calm. She pulled a leather-bound folder from her assistant's hands and handed it to him. This is our marriage agreement. Look it over. If you have any objections, we can amend them. Alex opened the folder. The terms were simple, yet incredibly generous. 1. Alex Miller and Vivian Vance will enter a legal marriage. 2. The marriage will remain active for 3 years, during which they will present themselves as a devoted couple to the public and the Vance family. 3. Vivian will provide Alex with unlimited financial support, top-tier medical care for his damaged stomach, and the full backing of the Vance Group in any endeavors he chooses. 4. After 3 years, if Alex wishes to divorce, he will receive a settlement of $50 million and several prime real estate properties. Alex looked up, a trace of confusion in his eyes. Vivian, why me? You are the head of the Vance Group. You could marry anyone. Why choose a broken man who was discarded by an actress? Vivian smiled softly, a rare, genuine expression that softened her sharp features. Because you are loyal, Alex. In a world where everyone wants something from me, my money, my status, my power, you are the only one who gave everything he had to a woman who treated him like garbage, simply because you believed in love and gratitude. She stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. I don't need a business partner. For a husband. I need someone I can trust completely. Someone who knows what it means to protect the person they care about. When you smashed that bottle at the club 5 years ago to protect Scarlett, I was there. I saw it. Alex gasped slightly. You were there? Yes, Vivian nodded. I was sitting in the VIP lounge. I watched you take those blows for her. I saw how you looked at her, with absolute devotion. I envied her then. And when I saw how she treated you over the years, how she used your mother's illness to chain you to her side while she pined for another man, I realized she didn't deserve a diamond. But I do. She held out her hand to him. I won't force you to love me, Alex. But I will respect you. I will cherish you. And I will give you the power to make everyone who trampled on your dignity regret the day they ever crossed you. Will you marry me? Alex looked down at her slender, elegant hand. He thought of his mother, who had spent her final years worrying about his happiness. He thought of Scarlett, who had casually shattered his dignity and his heart. He reached out and took Vivian's hand. I will. Meanwhile, in a luxury villa on the outskirts of the city, Scarlett was pacing the living room floor, her face pale and anxious. The house was in complete disarray. For the past 5 years, Alex had handled everything. Every morning, he would wake up at 5 a.m. to simmer a pot of stomach-soothing soup for her. He would iron her clothes, organize her schedule, and keep the villa spotless. Now, there were dirty dishes piled in the sink, dust gathering on the counters, and the smell of stale takeout hanging in the air. Ethan. Did you order takeout again? Scarlett snapped as Ethan walked down the stairs, wearing a silk bathrobe that Alex had bought for himself but never worn. What's wrong with takeout? Ethan grumbled, rubbing his eyes. He sat on the couch and turned on the television. And why are you so tense? It's just a servant who left. You said it yourself, he's just a stand-in. He'll come crawling back once his mother's medical bills start piling up. His mother is dead, Ethan. Scarlett yelled, her voice cracking with emotion. And he's not coming back. He left with Vivian Vance. Ethan froze, his eyes narrowing. Vivian Vance? The head of the Vance Group? Don't be ridiculous, Scarlett. Why would a woman like that have anything to do with a club server? He probably hired an actress to play a part just to make you jealous. It wasn't an actress, Scarlett whispered, her heart squeezing with a strange, heavy dread. The bodyguards, they were real. The way she looked at him, it was real. So what? Ethan scoffed, walking over to wrap his arms around Scarlett's waist. You have me now. We're married. The media is already raving about our love story. Your movie is a blockbuster. You don't need him. But as Ethan leaned in to kiss her, Scarlett felt a sudden wave of revulsion. She pushed him away, her mind flashing back to the night before. Ethan had come home drunk, demanding that she make him dinner. When she told him she didn't know how to cook, he had complained, saying she was useless compared to the women he met abroad. I haven't treated you badly all these years. I've taken care of you, supported you. Alex's words echoed in her head. For 5 years, Alex had never complained. Even when his stomach was in agonizing pain, he would smile and hold her hand, telling her that as long as she was happy, it was all worth it. Suddenly, Scarlett's phone rang. It was her agent, Tiffany. Scarlett. Have you seen the news? Tiffany's voice was hysterical. What news? Scarlett asked, a cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. The Vance Group just announced a major restructuring of their entertainment division. They've pulled all funding from your upcoming film, The First Love. And that's not all, every major brand under the Vance umbrella has just terminated their endorsement contracts with you. Scarlett's phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the hardwood floor. No, she whispered. This can't be happening. Ethan picked up the phone, his face turning pale as he read the headlines. What? Pulled funding? But I was supposed to be the executive producer for that film. If they pull out, the project is dead. How am I supposed to pay off my debts? Scarlett turned to look at Ethan, her eyes wide with shock. Debts? What debts? Ethan stuttered, his confident facade instantly crumbling. Well, you know. Living abroad is expensive. I had to take out some loans, but don't worry. Once your movie makes money, we can pay it off. Scarlett felt as if a cold bucket of water had been poured over her head. The romanticized image of her first love, who had suffered bravely abroad suddenly shattered, revealing a parasitic, debt-ridden coward who had only returned to her because she was now rich and famous. And the man who had truly loved her, who had sacrificed his health, his dignity, and his youth for her, was gone. 2 months passed. Under the care of the Vance family's private medical team, Alex's health improved dramatically. The chronic stomach pain that had plagued him for years was finally under control. He had gained weight, his complexion was healthy and radiant, and his naturally striking features, once hidden behind exhaustion and cheap clothing, now turned heads wherever he went. Vivian had hired the best tutors, stylists, and business mentors for him. Alex was not a stupid man, he had simply been forced to abandon his education to care for his sick mother. With the resources of the Vance Group behind him, he absorbed knowledge like a sponge. He was no longer the quiet, submissive boy who stood in the corner. He was now the elegant, poised, and confident husband of Vivian Vance. How do I look? Alex asked, standing in front of the full-length mirror in the master suite of the Vance estate. He was wearing a bespoke charcoal gray double-breasted suit. His hair was styled back, revealing his sharp jawline and deep, expressive eyes. Vivian walked into the room, wearing an emerald green silk gown that perfectly complemented his suit. She walked up behind him, her hands resting gently on his shoulders as she looked at their reflection. You look breathtaking, Alex, Vivian said softly. The boys from the high society clubs won't know what hit them tonight. Tonight was the Vance Group's annual charity gala, the most prestigious event of the year. Every major figure in the business and entertainment industry would be there, including Scarlett and Ethan, who had desperately begged for invitations in a bid to save Scarlett's dying career. Are you ready to face her? Vivian asked, her eyes meeting his in the mirror. Alex smiled, a calm, steady expression. I've been ready for a long time. The grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton was a sea of glittering chandeliers, expensive champagne, and high society gossip. Scarlett stood in a corner, clutching a glass of wine. She looked exhausted. The lack of sleep and the constant stress of her crumbling career had taken a toll on her appearance. Her makeup, though professionally applied, couldn't entirely hide the dark circles under her eyes. Beside her, Ethan was eyeing the buffet greedily, looking entirely out of place in a rented tuxedo. Make sure you introduce me to the directors tonight, Scarlett, Ethan muttered. If we can't get funding for The First Love, we're ruined. The debt collectors are already calling my phone every hour. Shut up, Ethan, Scarlett snapped, her eyes scanning the crowd. I'm trying to find President Vance. If I can just apologize to her, maybe she'll reinstate the contracts. Suddenly, the whispers in the ballroom died down. The grand double doors opened. And the host announcing the president of the Vance Group, Miss Vivian Vance, and her husband, Mr. Alex Miller Vance. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Scarlett's eyes flew to the entrance. Walking down the grand staircase, hand in hand with Vivian, was a man who looked like royalty. His posture was straight and regal, his steps confident and measured. The custom suit hugged his broad shoulders, and his face was so handsome it took her breath away. Alex. Scarlett's glass of wine slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble floor. It was him. But it couldn't be him. The Alex she knew was always pale, wearing faded hoodies and worn-out sneakers. His shoulders slightly hunched as if trying to make himself smaller. This man Radiated power, sophistication, and an undeniable charm that drew every eye in the room. What the? Ethan stared, his mouth open in shock. That's the server? No way. That's a different person. As Alex and Vivian descended the stairs, the crowd parted for them like the Red Sea. Prominent business moguls, politicians, and famous directors rushed forward to greet them, their faces filled with sycophantic smiles. Alex handled the attention flawlessly. He spoke with a quiet confidence, fluent in multiple languages, his laugh rich and genuine as he conversed with the elites of the city. He didn't look like a social climber, he looked like he belonged there. Scarlett felt a sudden, desperate urge to run to him. Ignoring the stares of the crowd, she pushed her way through the guests, her heart pounding against her ribs. Alex, she called out, her voice trembling. The crowd fell silent as they recognized her. Alex paused, turning his head slowly. When his eyes landed on Scarlett, there was no anger, no resentment, and no longing. There was only a cold, polite indifference, as if he were looking at a stranger. "Miss Scarlett," Alex said, his voice smooth and clear. "Good evening." "Alex." "Please," Scarlett choked out, her eyes filling with tears. "We need to talk. Just 5 minutes. Please." Before Alex could answer, Ethan pushed his way to Scarlett's side. He tried to puff out his chest, looking at Alex with a mixture of jealousy and disdain. "Alex, don't get cocky just because you found a rich sugar mommy. Scarlett is the star of a blockbuster movie. You're just a parasite clinging to the Vance family's coattails." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Vivian stepped forward, her eyes flashing with a terrifying coldness. "Mr. Hunt, I suggest you watch your tongue. You are speaking to the legal co-owner of the Vance Group. One word from my husband, and your remaining assets will be liquidated by morning." Ethan paled, taking a step back. Alex gently placed a hand on Vivian's waist, a gesture of quiet comfort that made Scarlett's heart twist with agonizing jealousy. "It's fine, Vivian," Alex said softly, his voice calm. He turned his gaze to Ethan. "Mr. Hunt, you seem to have a misunderstanding. I did not marry Vivian for her money. I married her because she treats me like a human being. Something your wife," he glanced at Scarlett, never understood. "Alex, I was wrong," Scarlett cried, taking a step closer, ignoring the security guards who were closing in. "I was blind. Ethan lied to me. He didn't suffer abroad, he was living off other women and accumulating debts. I realized it too late. Please, Alex, come back to me. I'll divorce him tomorrow. I'll tie your shoelaces every day. I'll do whatever you want." She actually dropped to her knees, her expensive designer gown pooling on the floor, her hands reaching out to grab his polished leather shoes. "Look, Alex. I'm doing it now. I'll tie your shoes," she sobbed, her fingers trembling as she reached for his laces. The crowd gasped. The famous, proud actress Scarlett, kneeling on the floor, begging a man she had once discarded. Alex looked down at her, his expression entirely unmoved. He gently took a step back, pulling his feet out of her reach. "Scarlett, it's too late," Alex said quietly. "The shoelaces don't matter anymore. Because the person wearing the shoes has changed." He turned to Vivian, his eyes softening into a look of genuine warmth. "Shall we go, my love? The air in here is getting a bit stale." "Of course," Vivian smiled, wrapping her arm around his. As they walked away, leaving Scarlett sobbing on the floor in front of the entire high society of the city, Alex felt a weight that had crushed his chest. For 5 years finally lift. He was free. The fallout from the gala was swift and merciless. Within 24 hours, the video of Scarlett kneeling and begging Alex went viral. Her reputation as the reluctant star who kept her private life clean was shattered. The public learned of her cruel treatment of her 5-year partner, her role in his mother's death, and her sham marriage to Ethan. Her agency officially dropped her, refusing to pay her legal fees. Her blockbuster movie was pulled from theaters early due to boycotts, and the investors sued her for breach of contract, demanding millions in damages. To make matters worse, Vivian's legal team had dug up Ethan's fraudulent activities abroad. He was arrested the following week for grand larceny and Financial fraud. On the day of Ethan's trial, Scarlett stood outside the courthouse, looking completely ruined. She had lost her villa, her money, her career, and her beauty. She was a shell of her former self. As she walked down the steps, a sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled up to the curb. The door opened, and Alex stepped out. He was dressed in a casual but incredibly elegant cream-colored cashmere sweater and dark trousers. He looked happy, healthy, and completely at peace. Scarlett's eyes lit up with a desperate spark of hope. "Alex, did you come here for me? Are you here to help me?" Alex looked at her, his eyes filled with a quiet pity. "No, Scarlett. I came to deliver this personally." He handed her a document. Scarlett looked down. It was a court order. "This is a lawsuit for the return of all the money my mother spent on making that handmade jacket you let Ethan wear," Alex said quietly. "And for the emotional distress you caused her during her final days. The Vance Group's legal team will ensure you pay every single cent back." Scarlett's hands shook so violently the paper fluttered to the ground. "Alex. Please. I have nothing left. I'm bankrupt. They're going to take my clothes, my car, everything. I have nowhere to go." "That is none of my business," Alex replied calmly. "You once told me that I hadn't lost out because you supported me for 5 years. But the truth is, Scarlett, I paid for that support with my youth, my health, and my mother's life. Now, it's time for you to pay your debts." He turned to walk back to the car. "Alex." Scarlett screamed, her voice breaking. "Did you ever love me? Even a little bit?" Alex paused, his hand on the car door. He looked back at her, his expression serene. "I loved the girl who gave me a band-aid in the club 5 years ago," he said softly. "But that girl was an illusion you created to keep a loyal dog by your side. The real you is the person standing here today, empty, selfish, and entirely alone." He stepped into the car, and the door closed with a heavy, solid thud. As the Rolls-Royce pulled away, Scarlett sank onto the cold stone steps of the courthouse, clutching the lawsuit to her chest, weeping for the love she had so carelessly thrown away. A year later, the sun was setting over the private beach of the Vance family estate. The sky was painted in brilliant hues of orange, pink, and gold. Alex stood on the wooden deck, holding a cup of warm tea. His stomach issues were entirely cured, and he felt a strength and vitality he hadn't experienced since his teenage years. A pair of slim, warm arms wrapped around his waist from behind. Vivian rested, her chin on his shoulder, inhaling the scent of his freshly washed hair. "What are you thinking about?" she asked softly. Alex turned in her arms, smiling as he looked down at her. "I was thinking about how beautiful the sunset is. And how lucky I am." Vivian laughed, a light, musical sound. "You're lucky? I think I'm the lucky one. My husband has just successfully launched his own charitable foundation for underprivileged medical patients, and he's already being hailed as the most promising young philanthropist of the year." "I couldn't have done it without you," Alex said, his eyes filled with a deep, quiet devotion. It was no longer the desperate, anxious devotion of a stand-in trying to please a cold master. It was the mature, steady love of a partner who was respected, cherished, and loved in return. Vivian looked up at him, her eyes shining with sincerity. "The 3-year contract is coming to an end in 2 years, Alex. Have you thought about what you want to do?" Alex smiled. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, elegant velvet box. He had ordered it weeks ago, not with savings scraped together from a meager salary, but with the success of his own hard work. He opened the box, revealing a stunning, understated diamond ring that sparkled in the light of the setting sun. "I think we should tear up that contract," Alex said softly, taking her hand, "and replace it with something permanent. Vivian Vance, will you marry me? For real this time?" Vivian's breath hitched. A beautiful, radiant smile spread across her face, and tears of joy glistened in her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, stepping into his embrace. 1,000 times, yes. As they kissed under the fading light of the sun, Alex knew that the scars of his past had finally healed. The boy who had stood in the dark, waiting for a drop of affection, was gone. In his place stood a man who had found his true Home, wrapped in the warmth of a love that was genuine, enduring, and entirely his own.